Chair's agreement. Thank you. On the 15th of June, Matthew Knott wrote an article for The Age that covered the experiences of Drew Pavlou and Vicky and them being suspected targets of a foreign interference operation. Are we familiar with this media coverage?
Yes, I am, Senator.
Yep. In the article, Mr Pavlou and Michoud say that they decided to go public because they were warned about these issues 10 months ago and they were frustrated that no arrests have been made and they haven't received any updates. Is there any update that you can share in this forum?
Senator, all I can say it is very much an active and ongoing investigation. I know that doesn't give you a lot, but I can assure you that it is still active. And of course, we are pursuing every avenue in relation to that investigation.
Yeah, I do appreciate the constraints that are on you, but as you also appreciate, saying in these forums on an ongoing basis that something is active doesn't give victims that much confidence. They want to see progress, tangible progress. What can you say to give them more confidence about their safety?
What I can say is, firstly, it was a threat that we disrupted. So we were proactive in disrupting that threat and ensuring that nobody was hurt. And we were very proactive in engaging with those people who were potential targets of violence in relation to this investigation. We did allocate a liaison officer to each of those potential victims so that they had a point of contact directly into the AFP that could support them and assist them through the investigation, and that continues.
Well, one aspect of the story that concerned me was that Michoud said she'd been provided with advice about how to evade surveillance or being followed. She was told not to go to the same cafe on 2 often occasions. She said she was told to sometimes alternate the pace of her walking from slow to fast to try and identify if someone's following her. Is that accurate, that she was given that sort of advice? I can say that, not just her, but the multiple potential victims were given some safety and security advice. Yeah, and I do appreciate that on one level it is practical to advise people how to deal with this, but on another level it seems bizarre that we are training private citizens in intelligence tradecraft to protect themselves rather than just arresting the people or dealing with the people who are intimidating them. No Australian citizen in their own country should have to be an expert in evading surveillance of a foreign intelligence service or their proxies.
Of course, Senator, my preference to arrest swiftly is as strong as yours is.
Good.
But as you would be aware, these matters are very complex and unfortunately that's not always an option that is available to us. There are a range of crime types and victims that we deal with where we give safety and security advice. I think that is very much a part of our job and an important part of our job. And what I can say as well, without going into too much detail, is that we have seen nothing in terms of any current or ongoing threat in relation to those individuals.
Yep, that is encouraging. Without being specific about this case, generally speaking, you say it's difficult sometimes to arrest people. I appreciate why that's the case, but perhaps you can spell out what the obstacles are. Is it because some of the people that you suspect are responsible have left the jurisdiction and therefore can no longer be charged? Is it because of legal obstacles in proving the case or evidentiary obstacles? What are the main challenges?
It is both of those. Of course, the legislation in terms of the threshold for prosecution is high because, and quite rightly, these are very serious offences. And as you may be aware, with our foreign interference legislation, a key tenet of the legislation is to prove that direct link to a foreign principal. Yep. That's what makes it foreign interference as opposed to foreign influence. Yep. Now, when we talk about foreign principals, we're often talking about extremely good tradecraft and people who do know how to operate in a way that does either remove them from, direct investigation or evade some of our investigative tactics. And I think that's an opportunity for me to say, and I think this, Senator, that this is one of the most complex crime types that we investigate, and we are constantly having to look at new ways to conduct these investigations in order to combat some of that, tradecraft and some of those other obstacles.
Are there other ways of getting at this problem? For instance, what has been described in these cases also sounds to me like it could be stalking, it could be harassment, there could be other relevant criminal charges that could be brought. Is that something that the AFP considers?
Yes, it is, most definitely, and we do, particularly in relation to the community interference work that we do. There is often state charges in relation to stalking, intimidation, threats of violence, those sorts of things that do enable us, particularly for an immediate disruption or some sort of quick disruption. As you would also be aware, charge and prosecution is not the only option available in terms of disruption, and as I've said before in this forum, a lot of that disruption work the general public will never see, but I can give comfort that most definitely it is occurring.
Some of the people involved in this story, but others who've come forward as well, have talked about how they're often harassed electronically, they're often harassed online, on social media or telephone calls. Now, obviously, if that's coming from overseas, the AFP is limited in the action they can take, but it is an offence to use a carriage service to menace and harass someone. Have you considered using legislation like that, where it is coming from within Australian territory?
Yes, that is definitely something that we look to as an option, and if I could just take the opportunity that we do encourage people to report instances like this to the National Security Hotline, so that we can triage and take appropriate action.
So just finally on this issue, transnational oppression or community interference, I think is your preferred terminology, is only one component of foreign interference. It's a broad and complex problem, as you say. There have been 2 individuals charged under that. Neither of them were transnational oppression cases. This is a particular type of foreign interference that really strikes fear in the heart of particularly diaspora communities. It's the type of foreign interference they're most worried about. We were also concerned about interference with our political system and our democratic institutions, of course. But I think it would give them great comfort if people started to be facing legal consequences for that component of foreign interference as well. So I just leave that as a kind of a final appeal. I know you understand the seriousness of these crimes and you're doing what you can, but it will give them great heart to see progress on charges.
Thank you.